It's Paul Marsh here on Express, and I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by Emma Cole, who is HIV positive, and Dr. Priya Gopaldas. Am I correct in saying that? Even
Yes, you
close?
pronounced it perfectly. Perfect.
Perfect. I got one thing right. It's always a nice way to start an interview when you get one thing right. How are you both doing?
Really good, thank you.
Yeah, I'm very well. The sun's out. Can't complain.
Exactly right, especially this time. Even if it's cold, I don't mind as long as it's sunny. I can handle that. So we're going to be talking about HIV, which it's kind of disappeared for a long, long time. Obviously, there was a lot about HIV in the 80s and early 90s, a lot of big, scary stories about it. And then it's kind of disappeared off the face of the planet. There are no warnings. Nobody talks about it. It's just completely disappeared until recently. In fact, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I heard a report that there was going to be an advert on primetime TV talking about HIV. And it was the first advert that had been on TV in something like 25 years or something like that. So why are we talking about HIV again?
Well, I think the fact is it's still with us. People are being diagnosed on a daily basis. And unfortunately, there is still a huge amount of stigma around HIV, which means people perhaps are a little reluctant to get tested and to find out they're HIV positive. The reality today is a diagnosis isn't a death sentence. We have come so far from the horror stories of the early 80s. And if people do get a test today and it turns out to be positive, there are many more options available to them in terms of treatment, and also things such as peer support in clinics and in the wider community, so that you know you're not the only one living with HIV.
Yeah, so kind of a personal story from me. I'll be honest with you. I haven't had a test in possibly 10 years or so, something along those lines. But when I was younger, I used to get sort of tested semi-regularly. Whenever I would go in and have blood tests, or whenever I was tested for anything else, usually the nurse would say, "Would you like an extra one done for HIV?" And I always used to say yes, because let's face it, it's an extra vial of blood. It takes about an extra 30 seconds. And I'd rather know than not know. But there are an estimated 40 million people who are completely unaware because they haven't had a test done. That, to me, seems crazy.
Absolutely, especially because now there are so many different ways that you can be tested. It's not just at your GP or at your local sexual health clinic. You can do at home self-test gum swab kits. And so you can find out your result within 20 minutes in the privacy of your own house. And you can just order one of these tests online or go to your local pharmacy and buy them. And so it's a lot easier than it used to be to test for HIV, but still not that many people are testing, which is why we're here to talk about it, to get the word out and make sure more people do test.
Well, I think the last couple of years, if it's taught us anything, is the fact that we can all catch whatever it is in so many different ways, that it's not this, it used to be seen as this really dirty, seedy disease, but it's not at all. It's the same as so many other things that can be caught in a multitude of ways. I mean, Emma, you are HIV positive. Would you mind me asking you how you contracted HIV?
Well, I was actually using condoms in a relationship at the time because I wasn't on any form of contraception. And when one condom failed, my partner, Ian, got quite hysterical. And it was only after about 10 minutes of trying to calm him down, he said, "I don't care about getting you pregnant. I'm worried because I'm HIV positive." Now, this was back in 1991. And up till then, my knowledge, my thoughts about HIV had been, it's not my problem. I was a young, white, heterosexual woman, and I just did not see HIV coming into my life at any point. Unfortunately, that one incident with the condom failure led to me getting HIV. And I was fortunate in some respects. I did test early. After the 3-month waiting period, I went and got a test. Back then, there was no sort of home testing. I had to go to a sexual health clinic, which for me, who'd never been near a place like that, was terribly embarrassing and awkward, but it was the only way I was going to get a result. And I remember thinking when they told me the result was positive that they must have muddled up my sample, because I still could not believe someone like me would get HIV. Now, of course, what I've realized over the 32 years that I've now been HIV positive, the virus doesn't discriminate. And I would say to any of your listeners, if you have had unprotected sex, not just in the last week or the last month, but think back 5 years, 10 years, then consider an HIV test. And then you have that peace of mind of knowing, A, I'm negative, thank goodness, or B, if it is positive, you can get engaged straight away with care and support and treatment. And I would say one of the greatest bits of progress I've lived to see in my life as a positive woman is the knowledge that if you are on treatment, these antiretroviral drugs, your viral load becomes undetectable and you cannot then transmit the virus to a sexual partner. They call it undetectable, untransmittable, U equals U. And it's such a powerful message for trying to eradicate the fear around HIV. And, you know, I do this through my talks in schools under my Positive Voice brand. And I actually speak at schools in Portsmouth. So some of your listeners may well have had children who've heard me talk at their school.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I am very, very close with somebody, and I have known her for a long, long time. And I think literally maybe last year or the year before, something like that, she mentioned it in a very blasé conversation about so and so and so and so. Well, you know, I'm HIV. And what? Sorry, pardon, what? And she said, "Oh, I thought you knew." I said, "No, I had no idea. And I'd known this woman for over 10 years. And she completely normal life. She's going out and doing all the things that a completely normal person would do. Because like you mentioned, in this day and age, the fantastic thing is it's no different to taking a Buscopan every morning, or, you know, any type of headache tablet that we would take on a regular basis, or anything else like that. You can take a tablet a day, and, you know, it can change your world. And that's just a fantastic thing. But more essentially, like you say, it is getting tested to find out if you are, because if you are, it's not the death sentence it used to be.
Absolutely not. I mean, we know now that we're fortunate in the UK to have access to these medications. And whereas in the past, someone like myself would have had to wait to get on treatment, now it would be immediately offered after a positive diagnosis. And if you're diagnosed today with access to meds, you will live a normal life expectancy. It's not the death sentence. But we have to be aware here in the UK, we have 42% of diagnoses in people considered late, which means they have been infected for a number of years without even knowing. So again, it's encouraging people to do a test, as I say, at home in a sexual health clinic. Even if you donate blood, it will be tested. And therefore, finding out your status shouldn't be the fear that it once was.
Priya, why is it people aren't getting themselves tested? Why would they not do that?
I think there are many reasons. I think firstly, the stigma of having HIV still exists within our society, but also other reasons like people who are scared of needles and having their blood taken. And then also a lot of people, research has shown that people in relationships are less likely to test for HIV compared to others. And so I think there is just this fear of knowing your status, which is why people aren't testing. However, I think it's important to get the message out there that you can, HIV can be treated to levels so low where your virus is undetectable, as Emma was saying, that it cannot be passed on. And obviously, with most conditions, the earlier you are diagnosed with that condition, the easier it is to treat. And so I'd urge people to make sure they are testing regularly.
So if somebody's listening to this right now and they're thinking to themselves, well, this is something that I need to do and I should do, how can somebody go around finding a little bit more information about HIV in general, but also if they want to get themselves a test a test at home kit, how can they do that?
So to find out more about HIV in general, there are many charitable organisations such as the Terence Higgin Trust or Positively UK. And then in terms of the kit specifically, you can go onto the website uk.auraquick.com, and that can give you more info about the at-home self-test gum swabs.
Emma, Priya, thank you so much for talking to me. I really, really do appreciate it. And as I always say with these interviews, if we can help 1, 2, 3 people out there today, then this has absolutely been worthwhile. So thank you very much. And thank you for all your support and courage as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.